the pipe bombing, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but, I do think it may be time to call in the feds, that this can't just be a local issue. Security can't handle this in the arenas. Last night, as you can see here, another pipe bomb was launched in Los Angeles. Los Angeles Sparks versus the Indiana Fever. And the bomber nearly struck Sophie Cunningham. I will admit Sophie seemed to have found this funny and humorous. She's laughing with the LA Sparks players. Is this a serious issue, the pipe bombing for the WNBA, these dildos that keep getting thrown on the court? I think it happened at another arena. It didn't reach the court last night. Is this, and we talked a little bit about it, I think, yesterday, earlier in the week, should we laugh this off like it's Morgana the Kissing Bandit, or it's a streaker, or is this some kind of blatant disrespect for WNBA players?
I believe it's time to call in the WNBA version of the Warren Commission. We need to see, was that launched from the grassy knoll? Was there a second dildo shot from a book depository? This is the problem. This is why the WNBA players are now targets. They're unlikable. I think once or twice is fine. Now it's just kind of a running punchline. But I'm actually glad that last night it hit a white player and not someone else, because then there would have been the think pieces. But it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to actually ramp up the security for the entrances? Is this going to become like the TSA? They're doing full cavity searches to make sure a fourth one is not launched from wherever. But I hate to say it for all the WNBA fans out there, I think this has become the biggest story of this particular WNBA season.
I think this will shrivel up very quickly, Steve. I don't. Did anyone get that?
I got it. I understood it. Yes. I just want to jump in and say it was all fun and games for Jason until somebody hit his girl, and his protective instinct has kicked in, and now we're bringing in the feds. We're going to put up the ice hockey shields all the way around. We've got netting. We're going to start checking people. Everybody's going to have clear bags. This is what's happening.
Yeah, they could go the hockey route. That's what literally that may be what they. Listen, I sent you all that we did not pull, but I sent a clip this morning that after the Fever were asked about this after the game by a reporter, and he was talking about how much disrespect there was from fans, and Kelsey Mitchell, I think Natasha Howard kind of giggled and laughed initially, and then Kelsey Mitchell gave a pretty good response, that kind of indicated hey, it's not that big of a deal. We got to focus on just playing the game, blah, blah, blah. But there are reporters that are trying to put, this is a blatant disrespect. Is this blatant disrespect, or is this just people trolling and having fun? I don't think anybody that would buy a ticket to a WNBA game and go to a WNBA game doesn't hate the WNBA. I just think they're having fun. It's perhaps inappropriate fun. And we're going to talk a little bit about Howard Stern. But this is kind of the kind of stunt that if this were going on in 1995, Howard Stern would be having the people to throw the pipe bombs. He'd have them coming on his show to talk about it. But is this a blatant sign of disrespect, or is this people just, trolling and having fun?
Oh, I think they're obviously trolling. Whether or not it's blatant disrespect, they're obviously trolling. One of the questions is, how heavy are these things? I've never held a dildo. So, Steve, maybe this is your area of expertise. Jason, Luke, someone help me out here. Are these dangerous? Is anybody in real danger here? Are these 20 pounds? Is this 1 pound? Who's actually in danger by one time a week? What are we? We're on week 2 now. So twice a week. Twice a week in one arena. Twice a week, one arena. It only happens in one game. It didn't quite hit.
It happened too, but it's becoming a fad. There's going to be more of this. It's the thing to do. for sport. And sports fans are, I mean, this is just keeping it real. If you go back to me as a kid, 18, 19, 20 years old, when I was a Pacer fan and would make a spectacle of myself, love to yell and scream at the management and all this other stuff, this is the kind of stupidity that I would have been capable of. This is the Antlers at Mizzou. This is the kind of stupidity they would be capable of. This is kind of what fans do.
Who would ever want an engaged fan base? You're right.
I agree. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying this is what's happening. But I'm going to go back to, Steve, is this a blatant sign of disrespect or is this just inappropriate fun?
Trolling is a form of a very humorous disrespect. There's no doubt about that. And speaking of like fan base, I think I've told this story. I think it was Chris Washburn or some college basketball star stole a pizza from a delivery guy. And so that next road game, as he gets introduced as a starter, the whole student section just whipped out a bunch of empty pizza boxes and threw them on the floor. I mean, some of these things are very thematic in what they do. They get very creative, like the Cameron, the Dookies, whatever they're called, the Cameron Crazies.
Crazies, yeah.
Right. So it is interesting. Like, is there a copycat syndrome going on? I believe so, unless people are really that invested. I think they caught the guy in Atlanta, so it has to be a different guy. I mean, but for a guy like me, let's say I chucked it in there like a grenade, right? The biggest punishment you can give me is not to ban me. The biggest man is Steve Kim. Now you're going to every WNBA game. That alone would scare me straight to never do this. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to be a WNBA fan, the last thing you want to do is actually get thrown out, right? So yeah, I think there's no doubt that whoever's doing this is trolling, and I believe looks at the league as a bit of a joke.
The other thing you said, you're not going to buy a ticket at, it's like, I think the get-in price for half these games are like $4. So buying a ticket is certainly not a barrier to entry.
That is true. Hey, I think we do have the clip. I want to show you the Indiana Fever. I hope this isn't too long, but I hope we have the question and Kelsey Mitchell's answer here. Let's play the clip.
Are you guys able to quantify like the level of frustration that fans seemingly have for the disrespect that fans have for you guys? Because clearly you don't see this at NBA games, but you see this 3 times already within the last couple of weeks.
We don't know who those people are. We're a product. We like to think that we come to play the game and people want to see us play. I think it's just that simple, man. We can't control everybody's actions. To the person or people who think it's cool, hats off to you, and to the higher power, I hope they keep praying for you. But for us, we want to keep the main thing, and I think that's about the basketball for both teams. So to those fans who do disrespect us, I like to think that you guys, hope to apologize, sooner rather than later. But I think we got to keep the main thing right now.
So the reason I find this interesting is the instinct of a WNBA player is to nail themselves to a cross, and we're victims, and yes, this is a sign of how hated we are. And I think Kelsey avoided it while trying to take the question seriously, but the media is going to try to frame this as this is the oppression WNBA and faces, and maybe it's just a sign of, hey guys, your entitlement, pay us what you owe us, your attitude perhaps invites this type of trolling. And I guess I'm victim blaming. Am I wrong for victim blaming?
Well, I'm going to repeat what I said many times. This is the most unlikable sports league by far. Now, that being said, as a fan, I don't believe we should be throwing stuff onto the court. I just don't, okay? But with that said, they kind of, I don't say invited, but they entice people who are inclined to do stuff like this to make them into a punchline. Like, I'll put it to you like this. If these athletes were much more palatable across the board to the American public and maybe didn't take some of the stances they did in mass, I think it'd be less likely that someone would take these actions. You really don't see this in any other league, do you? Not that I mean, look, I've seen a game in Cleveland years ago. It was a bad call at the end, and all of a sudden beer bottles were raining down. And that was a fan anger. But in terms of actually trolling and making the players a specific target across the board as a commentary on the league, I simply can't recall it.
It's because it's the only league that has all lesbians and they're making fun of them. That's what it is, obviously. Everybody knows it's all lesbians. Here's something you don't like. In fact,
70% I'd go, but not all, but 70%.
Clean majority, yeah, that'd be a landslide in a presidential election. Hey, listen, I think we need to, we're making these shirts. We have these fans' Bill of Rights. We need to add this. Free the pipe bombers. In fact, the most likable thing Angel Reese has ever done was make light of this and start making fun and just have some fun. You finally got some fans to care about what's going on enough. You're making real news. Have some fun. Just like Sophie did last night, your girl. She actually got hit with it. She's been the closest to being in danger, and she ran over to the other team's bench, gave somebody a hug, and laughed it off. That's how you handle these things.
Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.